When Israel was mourning its dead from wars and terror attacks earlier on this Memorial Day, the United Nations Security Council was holding its monthly discussion on the Palestinian issue. Israel had asked Russia, in its role as the current president of the Council, to shift the date of day's discussion, but that request was requested. Well, here's what Israeli Ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan, had to say about that.
The decision to nonetheless hold this debate on today, of all days, only further proves what Israelis already know and feel about this biased organization. Mr. President, what would you do if this council was convening to single out and condemn the Russian Federation and your soldiers on the 9th of May, on Victory Day over the Nazis?
Let's go to our senior U.S. correspondent, Mike Wagenheim, at the UN. And Mike, unfortunately, perhaps it is fitting that the UN should spend Israel's Memorial Day for fallen soldiers and victims of terror, again, debating the Palestinian issue, basically. Did we hear anything different this time?
Erdogan doesn't see it that way, and this meeting had an added significance, or an even bigger microscope, because Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was chairing the meeting as opposed to the Russian ambassador. Russia has the presidency of the Security Council, and Lavrov was in town yesterday and today. And Erdogan said, you know what, I'm going to do what so many Israelis do on Yom HaZikaron, on the Day of Remembrance. I'm going to light a candle, and we're going to remember the dead. Here's Gilad Erdan in today's Security Council meeting.
I will take this opportunity to commemorate this past year's victims of Palestinian terror and those who fell in the line of duty. Yonatan Chavakuk, Boaz Gol, Oren Ben Iftach, Noam Raz, Bar Falach, Noah Lazar, Ido Baruch, Ronen Chanina, Shalom Sofer, Moti Ashkenazi, Tamir Avichai, Mikhail Ledigin, Aryeh Shopok, Eli Mizrahi, Natalie Mizrahi, Rafael Ben Eliyahu, Asher Natan, Shaul Chai, Ilya Sosansky, Irina Korolova, Shimon Ma'atuf, Alter Shlomo Lederman, Yaakov Palei, Asher Palei, Asil Sowaed, Yagel Yaniv, Hillel Yaniv, Ilan Ganeles, Oresh Kar, Alessandro Parini, Maya D, Rina D, Lucy D. If this council refuses to respect their memory, I will dedicate this speech to their memory. I light this candle, Mr. President, to honor them, and may their memory be blessed. I'm sorry, but I refuse to spend this sacred day listening to lies and condemnation. This debate disgraces the fallen, and Israel will not take part in it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, that debate carried on, Kalev, and in fact, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, addressed the media later on in the day. He was asked specifically about the controversy around the meeting and said, listen, Russia and other countries have been inconvenienced by meetings on days of national importance as well, but he claimed ignorance that Israel expressed any concerns about today's meeting. Here's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov.
Regarding today's meeting, I cannot, unfortunately, comment on the details because when we became the president of the council and discussed the schedule of meetings and the topics of meeting, there were no objections to having the meeting on the Middle East, including Palestine, today. The representative of Israel asked rhetorical questions very emotionally about how Russia would feel if there was an anti-Russia meeting held on May 9th, which is Victory Day. Well, I've been working at the UN. I worked at the UN for 10 years, and we held meetings on May 9th discussing all sorts of issues. We also held meetings on other holidays that were important to other member states. That's just the nature of the organization. If we exclude every single date that every member state would like to leave free on a calendar, well, you understand we'll have very few days left to work with.
Well, Kalev, that is, as they say, Russian disinformation. I actually saw an email from Erdogan to his counterpart, Russian ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, on April 3rd, saying that the issue had already been brought up multiple times at the expert level before the agenda was published for the month, and Erdogan got no response. He was now turning it over to Nebenzia. That was on April 3rd. On April 11th, Nebenzia responded in an email saying he had brought those concerns to his capital, Moscow, and that it had been addressed. Obviously, it hadn't been, or Russia's just playing around with the truth as they tend to do. Either way, Lavrov or his inferior, Nebenzia, knew about Erdogan's concerns because Nebenzia did, in fact, respond that he got Erdogan's letter. So there have been problems between Russia and Israel at the UN ever since Israel started showing sympathies toward Ukraine's security and humanitarian situation. It's got worse as time has gone along, and this is just another example of that apparently deteriorating relationship between Jerusalem and Moscow, at least here on the grounds of the United Nations.
Right, Mike. There is speculation by analysts here this was a deliberate rejection or snub to Israel because of Israel's support it's given to Ukraine. And how is that just in general playing out over this month when Russia is holding the presidency of the Security Council?
Well, you know, different countries within the Council and at the UN, for that matter, have been walking this sort of balancing act between letting Russia say whatever it is they want to say as president of the Security Council and setting their specific agenda and tossing out facts as they see it, whether other countries are just going to sit on the sidelines and not give any credence or credibility to it, or whether they actually attend these meetings and speak out against it. Different countries have taken different tacks. Even on different days, they've switched strategies around, but it's obviously been a running battle this month between Russia and especially the West and its allies in terms of making sure the narrative is controlled and kept as accurate as possible.
All right. Well, Russia and the United Nations, unfortunately, but not unexpectedly, not doing themselves any honor on this Israel Memorial Day, during Israel Memorial Day. Mike Wagenheim in New York, thank you.